Speedy Week 11 NFL recap is the fact that like Lamar Jackson was just in the MVP conversation. Like people were saying he's going to win his third and go back to back. And for him to suddenly fall out of the MVP conversation, I'm not there yet. But yesterday was a game he should have won. To me, that's a game he should have won, and he didn't.
Have their number.
They do have their number, but Toddy, you also mentioned that great stat about when the home team are underdogs. You should put all your money there. Baltimore is going to be the home team next time. Will they be the underdogs is the real question. I guess we'll have to wait and see, and we will talk about it here on Stats Over Politics. So now let's move on to our speedy Week 11 NFL recap. And, I'm going to start this off because I got some shit to get off my chest. Because the last time I was on this podcast, which was damn near about a month ago, the 49ers had just beat the Seattle Seahawks on Thursday Night Football. Feeling great. And now, coincidentally, I return and the 49ers lose to the Seahawks. This is the first time in Brock Purdy's career that he has lost to the Seattle Seahawks. And, man, like, I said this a couple weeks ago. I said this when the Brandon Ayuk injury happened and he tore his ACL out for the year. This feels like 2020 all over again. Just a complete repeat. I've seen this fucking movie before. You lose to the Chiefs in the Super Bowl. You come back the next year. It's going to be a revenge tour. Oh, we're coming for everyone. And then everyone drops like flies. Injuries are just nonstop. Now Brock Purdy is day to day with like, what is it, Toddy? You might have seen it like a, shoulder. I was going to say the elbow. Shoulder injury for Brock Purdy. Ayuk's out for the year. Christian McCaffrey just got back. Jordan Mason's banged up. Kittle missed the game with a hamstring injury. I mean, we still haven't seen Dre Greenlaw. Has Talanoa Hufanga played yet? I don't think so. Like one game. We are just injured so much. And it's so painful. And the most painful part about it, Kevin, because Toddy, I know you can relate to this, but Kevin is going to just enjoy our misery throughout all this, and understandably so. But the thing that is so painful for me about it, like Toddy, you said 2-3 weeks ago, we're cooked. Then we get a little bit of hope and we're like, hey, we're back. I don't want to say we're cooked because mathematically, the 49ers have a great shot to win the division still. Like the Cardinals are 6-4. Everyone else is 5-5. Literally everyone in the NFC West is in it and has a chance. And I have grown conditioned as a 49ers fan, and I know I'm going beyond my minute, but I'm sorry, I just had to get this off my chest, is we have become conditioned as 49ers fans, and Toddy, we have been spoiled the fact that we can count on our team to get to the playoffs and to win when they get there. We can't count on them to get the ultimate prize, but we can count on them to get some playoff wins, something that Dallas Cowboys fans can't relate to. But because of that, we have become conditioned to not, like, even when the 49ers were doing well earlier in the year, I didn't give a shit about it because I was like, I don't care. Wake me up when the playoffs start. And then I just want to see what happens when the playoffs start. And I want to see them get back to the Super Bowl and actually win it. Now it's a question of if they're even going to make the playoffs. But, I mean, like, I'm so torn because I want to still have hope, but then I'm also dead inside. And it feels like 2020 all over again. And so I don't know which way I'm leaning yet. Maybe I'll give you guys an answer by next week. But I'm just so torn because it's like they could still win the division, still get in the playoffs, go on a run. Who knows what happens when they make it to the NFC Championship game and see the Eagles or the Lions, or if they even get to that point, or go to the Super Bowl, what have you. But I'm just so torn about it, and it has just been a roller coaster of a season. And yesterday's loss against the Seahawks kind of just was the cherry on top. Because I met my friend Matthew's girlfriend for the first time on Saturday. We went and had dinner, and she lives in Seattle. She's a Seahawks fan. I was talking so much shit. I was just like, hey, since Russell Wilson has been gone, you guys have not touched us. And, of course, they lose to the Seahawks. Geno walks off with a touchdown. And as a 49ers fan, it just makes me miserable. Toddy, I know that this is our quick recap, but did you have anything you want to add about the 49ers before we just get to these games quickly?
I saw something on Twitter that the Seahawks tried to call timeout like right before that play started, and I don't think they had any timeouts
that just
left.
makes it worse.
And they
that
didn't
just
have
makes
any
it so much
timeouts
worse.
left, and so it should have been a penalty. But hey, that's just I don't know what to make of this team anymore. I'm kind of just I'm lost for words. Usually I'm talking shit to Kevin, telling him that your team can't fuck with my team. Can't really say anything right now.
Your team can't fuck with my team.
I really can't say anything right now. I can't defend myself. I'm getting kicked while I'm down here. Geno's doing the freaking Steph Curry celebration, the night celebration.
Oh yeah.
I'm like, bro, you haven't beat us. Like you're 1-5 against us. But I mean, you know what it
when
is.
Was that one? Yesterday.
Kevin's posted on Instagram like he's a Niner fan. I mean, I don't really know what to say. I mean, we're up in all these games. Like all of our division games, we're up. We're winning in the fourth quarter, and we somehow figure out a way to lose. I mean, the only bright spot in this game was Jaevon Jennings. I think he's a real receiver. He's having a breakout year. He's not just a third down receiver. He can do anything a number one can do. So, I mean, Christian McCaffrey's there, but he's not going to solve all of our problems. We have no pass rush. Oh, Shaun, you forgot to mention that Nick Bosa is going to be out, probably missing some time. And it showed. I mean, he had a couple of sacks towards the end of the game. All of a sudden, he's out with a hip injury. And then you just see that the pass rush is non-existent on those last couple of drives. And, I mean, we're 5-5. The Cardinals are leading the division at 6-4. You got to win the majority of your games here. I mean, the Niners have teams like the Packers. They have the Bills. They have the Lions. And you're already 5-5 right now. So it's not going to get easier. And you got to play teams like the Cardinals. You got to play teams like the Rams again. I get the Bears are on there, but I mean,
and the Dolphins. That's the last team we did mention.
The Dolphins are also on there. None of these games are going to be gimmies. So I mean, all of the gimmies that we were supposed to win, that ship has sailed already. So I mean, it's put up or shut up now. And dare I say, are the Niners going to miss the playoffs? It's an absolute possibility that the Niners can miss the playoffs, and we're going to be a team that's in no man's land. They're not going to be good enough to make the playoffs, but they're not going to have a bad enough draft pick to be, let's try and wiggle into the top 10. We're going to be like 13th, 14th. We're going to be in the middle of the pack. This is the worst.
The best coach in football, you think he'd figure things out?
All of the coaches have rough seasons. It's happened. But I mean, you got to roll.
Dare I say hot seat?
No, let's not do that. We're not doing it.
Yeah. Let's not even play that game. But just to add on, Toddy, you mentioned Nick Bosa. It made me laugh so much because not him getting hurt, obviously, but after he was sidelined and the Seahawks scored that second touchdown, they put that damn graphic on the screen where it said Seahawks have scored 2 touchdowns, 6 Nick Bosa left the game, and I was just like, and they kept putting the camera on him, and I was like, ugh.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks. And you mentioned Jaevon Jennings. Just a quick anecdote about that is we know him as 49ers fans as third and Jaevon, and you nailed it, Toddy. He's not just a third down wide receiver. But I was watching the game at my mom's house yesterday with her and her boyfriend, and her boyfriend's a casual when it comes to watching sports, but he enjoys watching. And I just said to him, I said, you see 15 right there? You see it's 3rd and 11? The ball's going to him. It went to him. 3rd and 9. The ball's going to him. It went to by the 3rd time. He was like, holy shit, he's getting the ball every time. And that's Jaevon Jennings right there. And yeah, there's not much else to be said about the 49ers. It hurts to be a 49ers fan right now.
Gotta lace them up for Green Bay this weekend.
Yep, exactly.
Khalil's been wanting to come on the show. He won't leave me alone.
He can come on Monday. Following the 5 and 6, the little engine that just ran out of gas.
So Kevin, I'm going to toss this next one to you because this is the team that your Eagles will likely see in the NFC Championship game. That is the Detroit Lions, who lost to the 49ers in the NFC Championship game last year. Actually, they choked. Anywho, the Lions are absolutely steamrolling everyone, and that included the Jaguars this week. As Kevin, the Lions beat the Jaguars 52-6.
It's the Jags, and as I'm saying that, I know Toddy's thinking in his head, well, you guys didn't beat the Jags that bad. Well, unfortunately, when you're playing 14 on 11, shit like that just happens. But, there's no need to talk about the past. Talk about the present. The Lions fucking suck. I mean, not the Lions. The Jaguars fucking suck.
This is your team,
I am genuinely scared for Doug Peterson.
He's gone. He's already out of there.
If he is to be fired, I am calling Howie, and he needs to become an offensive pass game consultant. He doesn't need just let him come back. He has a statue out front. He can help you GM. Dougie can't be unemployed. That statue's not even 10 years old. He can't be unemployed. We got to figure this out. But they have no Trevor Lawrence. Gabe Davis goes down. Christian Kirk's out for the year. They just have Brian Thomas. They don't really have much going. They currently have the number one pick, and I believe that shit's not going to change. And unfortunately, Travis Hunter, unless Dion pulls a Dion.
He ain't going.
Jaguar.
He ain't going.
Shit.
He ain't going.
Shit. And don't get me wrong. Quick off topic. I get it. You're Deion Sanders. It's the Sanders and it's the Mannings. What's the second? Shiloh. Shiloh doesn't carry as much weight. If Shiloh was Travis, you have a conversation. Because Eli and Payne were top, 5-6 picks?
No, they were number one each.
They both won? Okay. So
yeah.
Shiloh's going to be a day 2, day 3 pick. So he doesn't have that kind of power, but I would love to see it. But long story short, the Lions are the second best team in the NFC for a reason. Toddy, like I tell you, Jameson Williams isn't going to do this every game. I've had him on my fantasy team. There's been a lot of games.
That's why Kevin traded him to me yesterday.
There's a lot of games where he don't do nothing. They took him for PEDs, and he had 2 points. What PEDs are you taking? So they got a lot of things going, but if you let this run game run all over you, it can get ugly quick. And one of their corners said, if you don't come to play, we're going to blow you the hell out. And Dan Campbell has really brought in this identity to where every week, if you don't play defense, they're keeping their stars into the last drive of the fourth quarter, and they're going to try to put a 50. So hats off to the Lions. Second best team in the NFC. They got a long way to go, but we'll see them when we see them.
Yeah, well, in my Dynasty Fantasy Football League, I've been tanking this year, and I just completely rebuilt the whole team, sold off all my old players. Point being, I've been tanking, and I'm going to have the number 1 overall pick in the upcoming rookie draft. You better believe I'm taking Travis Hunter. Regardless of wherever he goes, I'm taking him. And, I mean, with Dion, he basically treats Travis like he's his third son. We saw that clip where Shador and Travis are talking, and they were talking about Travis's upcoming wedding. And Shador was like, "Why ain't you just having it at Dad's house?" And he was like, "Oh, shoulda, coulda, woulda. Everything's already paid for by my fiance, but it's basically his third son." And so it'll be interesting to see what Dion does in those top 10 picks and what happens. Anywho, Toddy, the Saints, they beat the Browns 35-14.
The Rizzler, Coach Rizzy. He's 2-0 now. I feel like this is a common theme when a coach gets fired. The team is kind of galvanized into playing with a little bit more passion than normal. I feel like the Saints have a better team than the Browns, technically. The real Jameis Winston ended up standing up on Sunday, and he threw a couple of picks that were kind of known to sing. I think it was last week I mentioned that Jameis Winston threw his 100th interception. But I mean, it was only right. Taysom Hill had almost 200 yards rushing. Like, what are we doing here? Like what's going on? He had like I saw it because I had them in a parlay. I just see him running down the sideline. I'm like, okay, they're good to go. And then all of a sudden, like I flip back 3 minutes later, he's running down the sideline again. I'm like, what is this the same run? Or like what's going on? So yeah, I think the Saints are playing with a little bit more gumption right now that their head coach is fired. So they're punching above their weight currently right now.
So I got the next game as the Rams beat the Patriots 28-22. I mean, this is a win that they have to have. It was a little too close than it should have been. I mean, respect to the Patriots. Mayo got them playing hard. They don't got the talent, but he's got them playing hard. And the Patriots did score 9 points in the fourth quarter, which made it a little closer than it really was. But I mean, it took a while for the Rams to finally pull away. Cooper Kupp, he looked great in this game. Cooper Kupp is one of those guys that I traded from my dynasty team because he's 31 years old, and I don't know how much longer he has left. But I mean, I did trade him basically for T. Higgins. That'll probably work out better long term. But right now, it's like, damn, Cooper Kupp's looking good.
You're cooking.
And just as I said earlier, in the NFC West, literally anyone can win the division at this point, Rams included. And so I guess we'll have to wait and see what happens. Kevin, I saw you cooking there. Speaking of cooking, Anthony Richardson is back in the kitchen as the Colts beat the Jets 28-27.
Kev's guy.
Yeah, it's Kevin's guy.
I told Toddy, so this is back when I was a bettor. He sends me a parlay, and it has the Jets. And I said, Toddy, every week we fall for this shit. Every week we come in here and say, it's going to work. Why not? Devontae Adams, Garrett Wilson, Breece Hall finally came back to life. Everything was working. The kicker's making field goals. There's no way. There's no way Anthony Richardson drives down this field and wins this game. Sauce Gardner may be one of the most overrated corners in the NFL.
Tough.
My man ain't had a pick in 35 games. And he's missing tackles. And I don't know if you guys watched the press conference after the last game. The coach did a presentation on tackles, and they asked him what he thought about it. He said, we don't need a presentation on tackling. We know how to tackle. And he goes,
that's what Shaun said?
Yeah, that's what Sauce said. Yeah, we don't need a presentation.
Yeah.
We got this. This goes to show how big of an impact Robert Saleh has. This defense was playing a lot better under Rob. Toddy mentioned it with the Saints, with their coach out. It's a breath of fresh air. It ain't like that in New York because you didn't get that fresh air because it's Aaron Rodgers' air and you're just there to take up space. As long as they can't block anybody up front, they're not going to be able to do anything. And I have been a Jets believer week in and week out, but they just can't get it done. But on the other end, Anthony Richardson, after 10 games, they gave up on him. 10 games. And now look at them. They beat the New York Jets. I bet Joe Flacco sitting at home saying, God damn it, I don't got to go back out there. Thank God. I don't want to do this no more. Because if anyone wanted Anthony Richardson to start again, it was Joe Flacco. But Jonathan Taylor, to see him get going, 24 carries, 57 yards, and God damn it, Josh Downs. As soon as I put into the group chat that Anthony Richardson was starting, I said, Shaun, why did I trade for Josh Downs? Why? Anthony Richardson can't throw a 10-yard out. And now he's throwing pump fakes, throwing double moves to Alex Pierce, and that's all she wrote. So I'm really happy for him. I wish they never took him out, but this just goes to show that his confidence never folded. And he really got to show what he could do through the arm or through the air, and he was able to rush for 2 touchdowns. And obviously he ran for the game-winning touchdown. But Anthony Richardson has a lot of the tank, and I am excited to see him. So moving forward, the Jets fucking suck, and that's it.
You guys probably saw what Kevin O'Connell, the Vikings head coach, said to Anthony Richardson after their most recent game. Anthony Richardson, future Minnesota Viking. Speaking of the Minnesota Vikings, Toddy, they beat the Titans 23-13.
Yeah, we got the classic Will Levis turnover. He's
the
back.
Mayo Man.
The Mayo Man. Saw some flashes of Calvin Ridley in this game. Thought he might have been able to get going early. They were kind of getting him involved, but I just think no one's able. I think Justin Jefferson set the record for most receiving yards in a 5 years start to their career, which is insane. And I think the Titans are just not very talented at the quarterback position, and it showed that. I guess the Vikings are a little bit more competent with Sam Darnold, but he's starting to regress a little bit. But I think it was just, the Vikings, I think they were down earlier in the game, and then they kind of just started to catch up. And, the Titans weren't really able to put a really good drive together to kind of get things, back in, get back in the saddle a little bit. But I think the Vikings, I don't know if they're one of the better teams in the NFC, like we kind of thought they would be, but I do think that we'll probably see 3 teams come out of this division. I think it's very possible, just given based off how the NFC is set up. But yeah, this Titans team has to do some soul searching. I said that they should have went out and signed a quarterback. But they don't want to ruin their young quarterback's confidence, as 2 franchises kind of already have done. Like the Panthers benched Bryce out of the gate. The Colts, we saw bench Anthony Richardson. Titans haven't benched necessarily Will Levis. But if he keeps playing like this, it's going to be tough for him to kind of just continue to keep playing like this. But he sat down a couple of weeks because of injury, but not because he's not playing good. But I think it's starting to come to where, all right, dude, we need some production.
Exactly. And for the next game, the Miami Dolphins, with the return of Tua Tagovailoa, defeated the Las Vegas Raiders 34-19. And I didn't expect much from Minshew Mania on the Raiders, but it feels like it's gotten about as bad as it can get. 2-8 for the Raiders right now. I mean, hey, I really just feel bad for Raiders fans, because Raiders fans, they've been through it for so long, and it's never ending, unless there is a guy who's currently in Boulder, Colorado, who has become really close. You both, for the audio only listeners, Kevin and Jaevon simultaneously did the Shador Sanders.
Didn't say a single word.
Which showing off the bling of all the watches that he wears. But man, Shador Sanders, he thanks God every Sunday, every time the Raiders.
Bro, have y'all seen that? It's just crazy.
Shador Sanders, future Las Vegas Raider. Maybe he'll be the savior.
Brady
but
mode.
It ain't. Yeah, I mean, hey, Brady's a minority owner now. Maybe Brady will turn Shador into the next great NFL quarterback just with his mentorship. I guess we'll just have to wait and see. I still like Antonio Pierce. When he became the interim head coach, I was kind of like random, but he's a great leader of men, and that's why I like Antonio Pierce. And so I hope they give him a legitimate shot with Shador or whoever the next quarterback may be. I just hope that they don't treat Pierce like they did to Robert Saleh with the Jets. Because as we're seeing, that was the last big topic that I talked about on this podcast, was when Saleh just got fired. And at the time, Toddy Kaz and I were saying, Saleh doesn't look like he's the problem. He was the scapegoat. And now we've had the time to clearly see that he was not the problem. Pierce isn't the problem. He just needs a team to build with and a guy to build with. That could end up being Shador Sanders. So we'll wait and see on that. Kevin, in this NFC North battle, the Packers beat the Bears 20-19.
So going back a week ago, I got very disrespectful on Mr. Caleb. We did a this or that. We heard
you did.
Joe Flacco. We heard names like Jameson, like J-Mo. We've heard names like Derek Carr. It got ugly. And Toddy said, Kevin, he's not that bad. It's been bad, but he's not that bad, Kevin. He's shit, but he's shitter. He's really bad, but he's badder, Kevin. Put some respect on his name. And that's what Caleb did. That he went out there and single-handedly did everything he could to win this game, whether it's through the air or running the ball. He simply laid the ball for a 20-yard field goal and said, just kick the fucking ball. This is now the second drive. He has simply handed the Bears a win, and they just have to do one job. Whether it's the Hail Mary or blocking for a field goal. You had one job and one job only. The Packers, I love seeing this version of Jordan Love. Healthy, confident, running the ball. But they need to get him to slinging the ball again. This whole game manager shit, 13-17, you just paid him all this money. You've hit on 3 quarterbacks in 3 past decades. Aaron Rodgers and Brett Favre aren't throwing 17 passes. Let him sling it. You got Romeo Doubs. Christian Watson came out of nowhere. You still have Jalen Reed. You have Josh Jacobs. You have Tucker Kraft. You have all these weapons. Let's use them. So the Packers, 7-3, heading into San Francisco. Or I don't know if are you guys going to them or are they coming to you?
We're going to Green Bay.
Oh shit! So they're preparing to had the cheese heads out, and as Jair Alexander once said, the pack is back.
I can't wait for those memes later in the week.
So Toddy, the Broncos, this was the shocker of the week to me. Not the outcome of the game, how it happened. The Broncos beat the Falcons 38-6.
I wasn't shocked at this game. I was kind of predicting, not the outcome, but I predicted that the Broncos would win, gambled on them. Are you guys Bo-leavers? Are you guys
in Bo Nix or the Broncos?
Are you Bo-leavers?
I'm not a Bo-lever.
You're not.
Okay.
I'm not a Bo-lever.
Toddy, do you know? Hold on, real quick. Do you know the origin of Bo-leave?
Can you break down the Bo-leave?
It's a WWE thing. I'm just gonna leave it there. Just go ahead. I thought that's what you were touching on. Go ahead.
Tough, but the Broncos are creeping up, guys. They can be a sneaky playoff team. I think they've won the majority of their last games. Obviously, the loss last week, which should have been a win, the miraculous block that happened. Sean Payton has kind of, dug his nails into this offense. He's got the quarterback that he wanted. Last year, obviously, didn't work with Russell Wilson. I think the defense is playing well. Javonte Williams, a year removed off of an ACL injury, has looked really good. I mean, Troy Franklin, their receiver that they drafted from Oregon. This Broncos team is good. They're a good team. The Falcons had a very underwhelming performance. We saw Michael Penix a little bit at the end of the game, but I mean, this was not a game that the Falcons were supposed to lose like this. If anything, it should have been a little bit closer. Kirk kind of did. I wouldn't say Kirk turned into a pumpkin, but Kirk kind of, came back to earth a little bit. I do think this Broncos team is a real team, and I think, hey man, if Bo Nix is going to be able to, I mean, he put up he had like 300 something yards and 4 touchdowns. If he's able to keep doing things like this, like we got to start talking about him for Rookie of the Year. Like this is like a real conversation that we're going to have to start having with the Broncos. And also, can the Broncos make the playoffs? Like they were one of the worst teams in the NFL last year, and all of a sudden, Sean Payton, I think he does have he's involved in personnel as well. They're one of those teams that's like, hey, we can kind of if they can run the table a little bit at the end, they can for sure be a scary playoff team.
Toddy, you nailed that. 28 of 33 for 307 yards and 4 touchdowns for Bo Nix. And the fact that they won 38-6, they had that final score with 9 minutes left in the game.
Yeah.
So they probably could have done more. And so now I'll get to this next game. And so the Chargers, they beat the Bengals 34-27. Toddy, you turned this game off. I turned this game off. And it turned out to be a great game. As the Bengals, they storm all the way back. T. Higgins comes back from his quad injury. He goes nuts. And the thing that impressed me the most about this game is the fact that the Chargers actually hung on to win. Because as we know, the Chargers just seem to find ways to lose games. I guess Jim Harbaugh is changing that because they held on for the win. They get because the Chargers got outscored 21-10 in the second half, 14-3 in the third quarter, but 7-7 in the fourth. They got that last touchdown that they needed for the disparity. And last thing I'll say about this one, J.K. Dobbins from the Ohio State University. Thank you, Toddy. You already knew. Comeback player of the year. Lock him in. Comeback player of the year. Come on.
Who's got JK in fantasy?
I don't know.
I think it's Gary.
That's a good question. It's probably Gary.
Yeah.
But J.K. Dobbins, man. I love the comeback story for him. Lock him in for comeback player of the year. And Toddy, if you could get to our last game here before we close things out with Shaun's pop quiz, it's the game we just watched. It wasn't a good one. The Battle of Texas, as the Texans from Houston went into Jerry's World in Arlington, and they beat the Dallas Cowboys 34-10.
Yeah, the bet I had in this game was the Texans team total. I was kind of unsure about the spread because I don't know, because things get weird in Jerry World, as Kevin likes to mention. But this game was not close at all. I mean, I think CJ Stroud threw an early pick, but I think the story in this game was Joe Mixon. Oh, well, the return of Nico Collins, I feel like, changes his offense a little bit. And Joe Mixon is just doing everything. He's running the ball. He's catching passes out the backfield. He does any and everything. And I feel like that changes the offense a little bit. When you add a guy like Nico Collins, who's the number one wide receiver on this team, and then you have guys like Tank Dell, John Mechie Jr., and you also have Joe Mixon running out of the backfield, and also Dalton Schultz, a former Cowboy. I think it does change the dynamic of the offense. I think they've looked a little bit stagnant in the absence of Nico Collins, but I think with him back in the helm, this offense will look better. The Cowboys, on the other hand, they just look like a piss poor organization. You just see guys on the sidelines kind of moping around. Cooper Rush is kind of doing whatever he can. Their O-line is treacherous. I mean, guys were just getting free rushes at Cooper Rush a bunch in this game, and it just looked bad all around when, Cowboy fans were leaving the stands early before the game was ending. It was just all around bad, and it looked, I don't know, McCarthy gets fired before the season's over because his contract's up. Like, he's not, I don't think they're going to renew his contract by the end of the year. So it's like, is he just going to get fired before the season's over? I'm not sure, but it does not look good in Dallas currently right now. There's just a bunch of things going on. Obviously, Dak is out for the year. DeMarcus Lawrence is another guy that they're missing. They're not a good team right now. And Kaz, who's came on this show a bunch of times, he's mentioned how good the Cowboys used to be at home. I don't even think they won a home game this year. I could be wrong. They're like, they look so bad. The Cowboys are top 5 right now if the draft started, if I'm not mistaken. But who would the Cowboys be in position to draft? Are they going to draft a receiver? I feel like they got to go O-line or something. But Cowboys usually are the team. They're America's team. They're the team that has all the juice and flavor and this, that, and the third. They have none of that right now. They look bad. They look horrendous.
Well, I, for one, absolutely love the fact that the Cowboys are struggling so much at home, because I remember vividly when we were in the offseason and we were doing a division by division season predictions, and I had the Cowboys, and I think I picked the Cowboys to go like 8-9, and they're going to be worse than that, obviously. But a lot of the losses that I had were at home, and everyone was saying to me like, Shaun, the Cowboys, they win at home. They win at home. That's just what they do. Okay, maybe they might go 8-9, but they win at home. They're obviously not doing that this year. I love it. I'm eating it like candy. Kevin, that game was going to be for you, but I know you had to let Blue out real quick. Did you want to dance on the Cowboys' grave a little bit more?
Oh no, Toddy said it perfectly. They're just hurt right now. And as an Eagles fan, I can sit here and say if they were healthy, maybe it wouldn't look this bad, but it'd be bad. Because they did have
Still
Dak
be
in
bad
those
even
games.
if Dak was playing.
So, but regarding to the draft, Toddy, they currently have the 9th pick.
Top 10, okay. Kev wouldn't look that
So
up.
it goes Jaguars, Titans, Browns, Giants, Raiders, Pats, Jets, Panthers, Cowboys, Saints for the top